This episode sponsored by Lake Monster Details, producing the Don's Light and Magic Legacy line of parts, offering upgrade parts and decals for accuracy, special effects, and lighting. Visit www.lakemonsterdetails.com and make it glow. Also sponsored by GCals, producing aftermarket replacement decals and custom quality graphics for your favorite spaceships. Visit www.gcals.company.site and add some personalization to your sci-fi models today. Also sponsored by Mask Design, boldly going where no masking kit has gone before. Take your model to the next level of detail and accuracy with a masking kit from Mask Design. Visit Mask Design on Facebook or click the ordering link in the notes below the video.
Hey, what's up, fellow modelers? Will here. Welcome to the Engine Share. This episode, we're going to get a lot done, and I'm not even kidding. I know it's been kind of dragging this out so long. I'm really trying to get this done and get some progress made on these videos. So this episode, we're going to get quite a few things knocked out. I am going to get something broken. We're going to get the impulse engines in, so those are in place. I keep turning this the wrong way. We're going to get the rec deck done. Let me see if I have to focus here a little bit off. There we go. But you can see that there. You can see the light kind of glistening off the glass. It's just a plastic bottle, but it's in there. And we're also going to get the forward observation done, and you can kind of see the light reflecting off of that as well. So we're going to get those things done. In addition, we're going to take a look at, I'm going to start getting the deflector dish worked out, because we're going to take a look at the Trek Modeler lighting kit. And again, thank you to Trek Modeler for sending that lighting kit over for this build. We're going to take a look at it, we're going to get into it, and I'm going to show you how everything lights up on it. And we're going to talk about a couple other options as well. So give me a little bit, or give me a minute, we're going to get into that. But first, let me just mention real quick, I had mentioned before about Boyd over at TrekWorks. There are some fundraisers going on for him right now. He's got a GoFundMe page to help cover medical expenses that aren't covered by insurance. And in addition, there's also a auction that's going on, which you can do a buy it now on it. So check it out. It's over at the HLI, Hobby Links International page. I'll try to put links for both of those in the notes below. So please check those out, and if you can, buy some, help Boyd out. But in the meantime, let's get into this build. Give me a minute. I'll put you on the bench. We'll get to work. All right, so starting off, I've got, I think I showed this, but I've got those rec deck windows roughed in. I got to, I'm going to do some painting on this, and then I'm going to mask it. So what I'm going to do is, you'll notice let me pull this picture up. And you'll notice in this picture that there is it's kind of a tannish, a really light tan around the rec deck windows. So I'm going to recreate that on here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use, and I've mixed this before and painted it and taken a look at it, but I'm going to use this Deco Art Almandine paint. It's kind of a tan. It's a light tan. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this Almandine paint. I'm going to take one drop of that and mix it with one drop of my Craft Smart White, and I think that's going to lighten it up enough. So I'm going to get that painted on there, and we'll come back and take a look at it. But I also have the rec deck windows finally sanded smooth and ready to be painted. So I've got that ready to go. And what I want to work on as well is I want to start working on the impulse deck. And you'll see I did some initial light blocking, and then I came back and sanded it because I need to do some other work. Plus I need to smooth it out a little more. But you'll see, let me hook this hook these lights up real quick. Right now I've just got I got a piece of plastic sitting in here, and I drilled some 3mm holes through it. And you see I drilled a couple different holes because I was trying to make sure where I wanted these to sit. And then I ran the wires around the impulse crystal for now, because I'm going to put a piece over this with the light bulb in it for the impulse crystal. So that's out of the way. Well, let me connect this to this battery real quick. I've got these wires run up. Just a quick look. And there we go. You see I got those lights in there. And it's a way brighter hotspot, of course, in the camera than what it is in person. The camera always overexposes the LEDs themselves in there. But that's all right, because that's going to come down some, because we got a couple things to do here. So in looking at how I want to do this impulse deck, I took a look at the motion picture, and there's the scene where Scotty and Kirk are in the travel pod and they're flying over the backside of the Enterprise, and you get this close-up look. I'll pull this picture up for you. And you get this shot, you get this close-up look at the impulse deck when it's powered down. And you'll notice that with the impulse deck, it's not just a clear piece, it's like white. I mean, it's obviously white and black. So the grills, what I've decided is the grills are going to get painted black. And also you can see inside that housing is actually black as well. It's not until you get to the outward facing part that it's white. So I'm going to try to recreate this as best I can. I am going to work on painting. What I'm going to do is, since you got this clear part here, and that screenshot shows that it was white on the studio model. Now, whether or not I can recreate this and get it to look right, we'll see. Again, remember I talked about risk. Sometimes you just got to take a chance and see how it turns out. But what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to paint this just white. Like I'm not going to take just a white paint. I'm going to take this, I've got this transparent white. And I'm going to try painting this with the transparent white. And then my plan is, I've got, you can see over here, I've got a set of masks that I've cut out of tape. And basically what I did was I took the photo etch part, because this is going to get painted black, and I laid it on a piece of masking tape, and then I just traced around it with a pencil. And then I came back and I cut these masks just slightly smaller than the outside of the photo etch, because I want, what I'm going to do is, once I paint that transparent white, I'm going to let it dry. I'm going to mask it over with this and leave an outer, a little bit of that clear, that white showing around the edge. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back and light block with black. And what that will do is, it will leave an outer edge that's black on the face of the impulse here. So around this edge here will be black. And then when I glue this black photo etch in place, it should give us a look, hopefully, close to what that screenshot looks like. So we're going to try it out, or I'm going to try it out, and see how it goes. And once I get that white painted, we'll come back maybe and take a look. But I want to get this tan painted and get that white painted, and maybe we'll come back and take a look before I do anything else. So give me a couple minutes. All right, so I've got that that tan color painted on here. I don't even know if you can see it in the camera. It's probably a little washed out. Let me see if I can get a little closer and zoom in. There we go. So you can see that tan, it's a really light tan. You don't want to go too dark on it, because when you look at that picture, it's not a very dark tan. So I think that'll work. I will make a set of masks. I'll have a set of masks. I'll cover the top row windows and the bottom with a split in the middle, because I got to have that sensor band that's going to run in between the upper and the lower windows. So I've got to get a mask made for that, so that way when I'm ready to do that, this will be protected. And then you can see that white that I painted, that transparent white. that I painted on there. And let's see if I can plug this in. And you can see that the light still comes through pretty well with that transparent white on there. And oh, I guess I'm going to have to focus it a little bit. Hang on. Turn this light off too might help. Make it a little bit less washed out. But you definitely don't want to go too heavy on that transparent white because it can start to make it a little bit too opaque. And it's kind of hard to pick up on camera. But it does cut down the hot spot just a little bit. I think what I'm going to do is take a little bit of sandpaper and sand the tip of the LEDs. And that should remove some of that pinpoint brightness that you're seeing there as well. But my next step is to, now that I've got that white on there, give it a little bit longer to dry. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to use my two little masks that I've got here to mask off that white in the middle. And then I'm going to come back and paint. And at the same time, I'm going to go ahead and light block, because you can see the light coming through the rest of this. When I go to paint that black, I'll do the whole section here. Remember, it's just this lower part here. The top is the solid kit part, and that's already been primered. And you can see some of the black from the primer there. So that's been primered already. But what I need to do is light block this lower part that's all clear. So once I get those masks in place, I can do that and get this all painted black. And then what I'm going to do, actually, I think the easier thing to do, I think I'm going to have to paint this black and then come over it with the white, and then probably mask off around the edge here, the flat side that's facing out. Mask that off, leave this open with the mask still in place over this white, and then come back again with the black to kind of create that black outline that you see on the inside there. So give this a little bit to dry, and then I'm going to come back and do a little more work on that, and then we'll come back and take a look. Alright guys, so in between coats drying for the impulse deck I'm working on, I decided to start working on the deflector dish, because I want to be able to, I got to work on the bi-colored LED for the impulse crystal. I want to be able to do the same thing with the deflector dish, so I decided to start working on that. And somebody's probably going to say there's an easier way to do this, but basically I'm trying to create those white lines that you see. Now some people cut sheet styrene. I didn't want to do that because I didn't feel like I could probably cut sheet styrene in equal strips like you would need to. But so what I've been doing is basically just cutting masking tape into about maybe 1.5 millimeter strips, and then taking it and just putting it in place on the dish, and then getting it lined up to where it's matte. Now I got to hold this up to the light to see the where it needs to go, but basically just masking off the area in between where I need white to be. And what I'll do is I'll do some light blocking. That'll let me do a light blocking coat and then come over it with the white, and I'll have my white lines in here. So I'm gonna keep working on this and keep working on the impulse deck, because I had to do some light blocking. Light blocking's done. Now I'm working on a coat or two, or at least 2 coats of white on that impulse deck, and then I've got to mask that off and do black one more time for the inside of the housings for each of the impulse vents or engines there. So give me a minute and we'll come back and take a look at one of those here shortly. Alright, so I've got the dish worked up pretty much. The masking and painting got me about 95% of the way there. I've got, you can probably make out, there's a couple spots where the paint pulled off, or it got touched by the tape or something didn't release or what have you, but it's a couple little spots I got to go in with a fine brush and touch up, and a couple little areas got to clean up, but other than that it's about 90-95% there. So I'll finish working on that, get that cleaned up, and then this will get a matte clear coat on it, just to kind of smooth everything out. But get that done, And let me take my glasses. I got these magnifying glasses here that I use for that little stuff. But I also have the rear impulse done as far as the grill part here. I've got to let this paint dry a little bit more. You can see where I painted the inside of the housing. Now, a lot of people will just paint the grills black, but if you look at the studio model, like the picture I just showed, and I'll show you another picture here that you can see more clearly. But you can see from that one there, from that angle, they definitely had the inside facing part of the panels painted black. So that's what I've done. I've recreated on here. And once that dries some more, I'll get in here, I'll pull those masks off. I'll have my white transparent paint on there. And I do have a little bit of touch-up I've got to do along this edge right here. I think you can see the paint didn't quite go evenly across there where I masked it. So I'll touch that up. But once this dries completely, I'll give us a little bit. I'll pull these masks off, and then I can position the grills, which I've already got sitting to the side here, which I've painted separately. But I've got the grills painted in black. And I used a semi-gloss black. I didn't want to go with a flat, even though the studio model looks like it might have been a flat paint there. I went with kind of a semi-gloss. I don't want to go with a high gloss either, just because you don't want to get too much reflectivity coming off of the inside there. But that's what I'm doing with that. So once that dries a little bit more, I can pull those off and get a better look at those impulse engines and see how close I can get it to that image I showed you of the studio model. So give me a little bit. I'm going to work on this some more. And once that dries, I'll work on that, and we'll come back and take a look. All right, guys. So I've got this kind of I've got this Trek Modeler kit kind of hooked up just to test it out. And I've just got a cardboard box with the buttons and switches hooked to it. And I've got the two of the one red and one green nav light, and also one strobe. And I've got my dish, which I've done up here. This is using Ian's STL for the dish housing, which is a little more accurate, a bit more accurate actually than the piece that comes with the model. I think I talked about that already when I was talking about getting ready for the build. But I've got that set up. I've got the dish here all done up and touched up, and it turned out really good. I'm happy with that. This dish, the great thing about this is this dish actually comes out. So I can paint this part, this ring, separately. And it makes it a lot easier to paint. The kit, this is one piece. The dish and the ring are one piece, and you got to do a lot of masking. This, I can just pull this out. I can paint this ring now. And if I want to, I can backfill these openings here that light up with some UV resin if I want. Don't know if I'm even going to bother filling those in. I might just leave them open because I think they look fine. But the dish, once you get that ready, it just pops in just like that. And in here also I've got, there's this part that comes with the, I don't know if I showed this before or not, but there's this little diffusion ring or disc that when you get the window inserts from Laser Fire Creations, they send you this diffusion disc that goes in here to help diffuse the light. And I haven't glued it in place yet. I've just got it, kind of got it dropped in there for now just to test this out. And let me try to get this centered back in here again. Now I don't have to go pull it out. All right. So you get that centered in there, and then your dish just goes in over top of it. And that's it. It's going to be easy to paint this now. So let's go ahead and turn this on and see what we got. And there we go. We see the dish powers right up. Now, of course, as you know, if you've seen other videos on camera, this looks like a very bright hot spot, but it is definitely not a bright hot spot in the middle. That is very nicely diffused. A nice even blue. Let me turn this light off a little bit. And you can definitely see we've got both of our nav lights. Now, they label this on the Trek Modeler kit as formation lights. So just keep that in mind. The formation connection on your board is for your navigational lights, and then your strobe is labeled as your strobe. One thing different about this kit that I'm used to doing is typically I'll do my negative my resistors on my negative terminal on my LEDs. And the LED really doesn't care if you do it on the negative or the positive terminal. It's just when I learned to do it on the negative. But typically, like with Tenna and this kit in particular, any kit, when it calls for them to be on a certain positive or negative, I'll usually just go with what the kit calls for. That way, you know, it's just I would rather do it the way the kit requires it. So the resistor is actually on the positive, and that caused me to make a little mistake here. Because I'm used to putting my resistors on the negative, I actually took the negative wire and connected it to, or actually I had the positive wire connected to the negative. So you can see I had to swap them here. That's why I've got this red connecting to the black here and black connecting to the red here, because I had swapped them because I'm just used to doing that. But just keep that in mind, you know, some things to think about when you do it. But it's all hooked up. Turn this light off. And I don't have the impulse crystal yet, but I'm not too worried about that. I just wanted to check out the effect. And I'm really happy with the way this is lighting up. I think you can see that on camera, how this the outer ring is also lighting up real nice. So I don't think I'm going to worry about filling that in with UV res. I think I'm just going to leave it open because you really can't tell from there. Let's see how many times we've got to push this button, because I haven't read to see what the different modes are yet. But I think I've got to push this button a couple times before it'll cycle through. There we go, power down. And there it goes to the amber. And that amber is a nice solid color. It's not bright, overly hot in the middle. Like the camera's not showing it too bad. But it's nice and evenly lit. I'm real happy with that. And we hit the button again. And it should transition back to our blue. There we go. Very nice. I'm really happy with that. This is going to look really good once we get the kit installed and get everything together. So I've got that worked out. I'm ready to start working on this at some point. I can get to painting the Aztecing pattern or the panel pattern on here. There's not really Aztecing per se on the deflector dish itself housing, but there is some patterns that have to be painted on this, so I can start working on that. I know everything works now. I've got all the lights lit up. I just don't have the blue strips lit up. And as a matter of fact, see that the kit comes with these blue LED strips, and I guess these are double density. They look pretty packed with lights. But I actually have some Cobb LED light strips that are an ice blue that I'm dying to try on this. I haven't I tried them. I actually used them for some short segments of it for my Grissom build, and they light up really nice and even. Whereas you still tend to get some bit of a hot spot even with double density LED strips like this. So I'm gonna do the Cobb lighting instead of these. These will just go on my stash. I'll use them for something at some point. But they do send those with the kit if you don't have your own LED strips. But I'm gonna hook up the Cobb LED strips to this, and then we'll take a look at that again at some point. I'm not too worried about doing it right now. But I've got this all set up. I've got the, we can take a look at, you can see I've got those grills in on the back here. Let me focus a little bit. You can see how that's turned out. And I don't have the grills pushed in. They're not secured in there. They're just kind of laying there. So you're still not going to see the white as well as you should because it's not in there all the way. But if I push down on these some, you can see how that's going to look though. It's going to have it's going to have that white in between, which is really pretty much how the studio model looked. I think that turned out real nice. I did also double check and see that this is the inside here is supposed to be painted black. So that's how I've got that painted now. And I think it looks pretty good. It looks real close to what the studio model looks like. So happy with the way everything's looking right now. I'm gonna do some more work on this stuff. I've got to finish getting the rec deck installed. I've got to get that installed. I've got to get that forward observation lounge installed, and then we can start working on getting the internal lighting installed in the saucer. I do have a I do have a 3D printed part that I made. I haven't tried to fit it yet, but what this will do is, let me turn this off. and kind of slide this out the way real quick. But what this will do is, this little part here, this was just a temporary setup I did just to kind of lay it up and see how I want to do it. This piece here, I made a 3D printed part, is going to slide in place here. And it's got 3mm openings for 3mm LEDs on the back here. So I'm going to take this piece out. I'm going to slide this in place. And this is going to make it a lot easier to kind of make a light box, which that's pretty much what this is a light box. So that way you don't get the red from the engine, the impulse engine, spilling over into the crystal, the impulse crystal. And vice versa, you won't get the blue spilling over into the LEDs for the engines. So that's going to keep those separated. Now I'm going to do something similar for the housing for where the LED goes in for the impulse crystal. So I'll make another separate piece for that, for the LED to plug into, and that way that's all blocked off. And it keeps those two from interfering. It also keeps your internal lighting from interfering and keeps you from seeing red or blue through any of your windows on the back here. But I'm going to get that set up. We can take a look real quick though at how these impulse engine lights are turning out with that pretty much done. Let me get these wires, get this battery. And there we go. Again, I'm pretty happy with that. I think it turned out real nice. Again, it's picking up a hot spot that isn't there, isn't visible. Sitting here looking at it, it's just the camera overexposes light sometimes. Let me try turning this off. There we go. And actually, the way that looks in the camera viewfinder right now is pretty much how it looks in the movies. You've got kind of singular hot spots in each one. And yeah, so I think that looks real good. But in person, it looks a lot more even, which is fine too. So I like the way that turned out. That's going to work good again. So far, not doing too bad. But so, like I said, let me work on getting that forward observation, the rec deck put in, and then we'll come back and we'll start taking a look at doing the internal lighting. So we're actually making some progress finally after this has been sitting for months and months. Finally getting somewhere with it. So give me a little bit to work on that, and we'll come back and take a look. All right, guys, so back again with the lighting setup. I went ahead and did a mock-up of the nacelle. I just put, I haven't done any diffusion or any of the light blocking for the grills on this yet. I've just got a strip of, I said I wasn't going to use the kit supplied blue LED strips. I'm using a piece of cool, what's called, I believe it's called Ice Blue Cob LED strip, and I'll put the link for this up if anybody's interested in it. I got it off of Amazon, I believe, but I'll put the link up in the notes below. But so I've got this set up. I've got this kind of mocked up with that cool blue LED on here. It's in low power mode now. Let's hit the button and let it get to warp. And we see it ramps up. Nice. That's a nice effect to have. The only thing I'll say about this is Trek Mahler does a great job with these kits. They've kind of finessed their kits a little bit. The kits are a little bit different of a listing on their website than it was when I first looked at getting this. But when I did a review of this, I was talking about how their A, they had one for the refit and then one for the A. And I only see the one kit when I go on their website right now, but I'll have to look again. But they sent this kit to me, and it was basically the A kit, which the only difference really was that the A kit doesn't have the sound effects. And the A kit, when they had it listed, and I did the review on it, only did the blue. It didn't do the ramp up from the low power mode. And what they did was they worked this up and sent me basically the A kit, but they added the ramp up from Amber for me. And I appreciate them doing that. I really like having that. It's just that, you know, it's one of those things when you do a comparison of the TOS Enterprise and the refit, that when you look at it, this is really one of those things that sets the A apart from the TOS, or the refit apart from the TOS, is this deflector dish and the way it ramps up. It's just a really cool effect to have, to add to it, to have that transition between the two. In addition to lighting up the warp grills on this. But you can see that, you can't really see that strip because it's so bright. it's a kind of a lighter blue than what a lot of people would expect to see. So it's definitely going to take some additional coloring to get it the right shade that I'm going to want it at, because that cool blue is just, it's a really light blue. You can't really tell on the screen. So I've got these these film gels, lighting film gels that I picked up from a what do you call it, a grip company back in Albuquerque when I was there, and I've got a couple of these, and you can kind of see, almost looks like an x-ray. You can see that strip when I hold this there. You see how it affects that. But I can change the lighting with these strips, and I've got this one here is kind of a magenta color, but, and this may look a little different on the camera. I think you can see the violet. How the violet, don't look at the tape on either end of that. I got blue painter's tape holding that strip in, so that's why it looks funky on both ends, because I got blue painter's tape holding that strip in right now. But if you look at the center part here, you'll notice it's more of a violet color. And I can actually layer these. I can do 2 of these on top. If I want a deeper color, I can take these film gels and I can layer them to get different lighting effects for the nacelle. So it's a great way to not have to carry 20 different, you know, colored LED strips, and be able to, I mean, because I've had this stuff rolled up. It rolls up real nice and it stores away, and then when you need it, you pull it back out and you clean it off and cut your little piece out. And when I went to the grip place, they basically let me get this stuff real cheap. It was in their scrap bin. I think they charged me maybe a couple bucks for a big sheet, a big roll of it. And so I've got a bunch of this stuff. But so I've got this magenta, and if you layer that over this ice blue, you get more of a violet that comes through on this. So that's one way you can kind of interact the lighting with these filming gels. And like I said, I can double this up if I want a deeper violet color. So that's one option you have. And I've also got this blue that I can layer on top of it. And when I put this blue on top, you get more of a blue color of what you would probably expect. And again, if I want a deeper blue, I just put another layer of this blue over top of that and sandwich them together and secure them on the inside of the nacelle. And it gives me, you know, I can fine tune the shade of blue that I want on the inside of my nacelle to light up as. You can even layer the different colors. If I take this magenta and layer it on top of the blue, you can see even that makes kind of a deeper blue. If I can get this on there we go. Even that makes kind of a deeper blue, you know, more closer to what you might want on these engines. So I just wanted to discuss that for those of you that aren't familiar with film gels. You do a search in your area. If you live in a decent sized city or near one, they probably have a grip house or a grip company there for filming purposes. And they had one in Albuquerque. I haven't looked here in the Richmond area. I'm sure they've got one though, because we do quite a few commercials, and sometimes we get movies and TV shows that film here. So I'm sure we've got a grip company in town somewhere. But give them a call. You know, go by and see if they'll let you look through their scrap bin and get some film gels. You know, and just play with them. Just see how you want to work with it. But that's a great option there. The only thing I want to say about the lighting kit in general. I really like this kit. It's a single button operation, so you don't have 20 million buttons that you have to press. I like the way it ramps down, and then that amber will ramp back up. Again, that's just a really cool effect to have. The only thing I wish this kit did was if I push this button from low power mode, if you push it, it's going to light up the blue, but it's going to light up the warp grill. And I would have liked to have had this light to blue, but keep the warp grills off. Just one extra little step in there, and then push it for a third time, and then have the warp grills light up, and then push it again, and just either have the warp grills go out and do it in reverse, push the button each time it would step down one, or once the warp grills were on, hit the button and have it just step all the way back down to amber. Either way, but I would have liked to have, it'd be nice if they maybe that's something they'll do later, or in one change they'll make later, I don't know, but it'd be nice to have this just an intermediate lighting on this, so that this goes to blue but the warp chiller grills aren't necessarily on. Because I think in the movies, if they were at I think like a medium to high impulse, the blue would be on, not the amber. I know on thrusters it was the amber, and then I've seen some scenes where they were at maybe quarter warp or quarter impulse, whatever they refer to it at the time, and I think this was still an amber then, but I think once it got to like a half impulse or one half light speed or whatever the term was they were using at the time. I think then it went to blue when they got closer up. But like I said, it'd just be nice to have that extra step in there. But the lighting is going to be excellent on this. I love that everything's working on it. I've tested this out now, so now I can start to kind of get things in place. I know the board's working properly, and I know how to hook it up properly. Because on this board, you do have to kind of make sure that you're hooking up your amber and your blue connections on your bicolor LED properly, because it's not really labeled on the board. I think it just says dish B or dish A or something like that, and vice versa for your connections, which maybe that's dish A for amber and dish B for blue. I don't know. Deflector is what it says. I'm sorry, deflector A, deflector B, I think is what it says on the board. Actually, I can open this up real quick and take a look. Let me turn this off though, so I don't shorten anything, because I do have a couple of, let's see, it says, yeah, it does look like it says deflector A and deflector B, or no. Yeah, it does say deflector B and deflector A. So it does look like A would be your amber and B would be your blue, I'm guessing. I had them kind of switched, and I had to go and fix it. Because even if that is wired, it doesn't really make it clear which pole on you got 3 poles coming off of your bicolor LED. It doesn't really say which one is which. So you kind of got to test it and see which one is for which color, and then figure out your wiring from there. But with that set up, once you power it on, you notice it just kind of slowly ramps up in the low power mode. It does start out as a low power and then kind of gradually gets brighter. And I notice if you don't let it power up all the way before, and you hit this button before it gets powered, it doesn't go straight to blue. It'll power up all the way and finish that, and then you can hit your button and it'll switch. And it ramps down, ramps back up. But there we go. So just want to talk about those film gels as an option for people. I wanted to show you the LED strip I'm using, and now I'm going to continue to work on getting that that forward observation and the rec deck installed on the saucer, and then we'll come back and we'll start working on the internal lighting. So stay tuned. All right, guys. So I figured I'd take a step back. I've had a few people ask me how I detailed this small forward observation deck. You can see how small it is. It's I've got this worked out to exactly 10 millimeters tall, which is about what I said a deck space should be, and there's only 2 decks in that forward section of the saucer. So I think this is right now. And I need to redo it anyway, because I ended up resizing this to make it fit better, since I did up that one that I showed all the pictures on. So I'm going to do this one up and kind of walk through how I detailed it. It's not hard at all, because I've made this break down into basically 3 parts. So the roof is a separate part. Let me adjust my light, because my camera's kind of creating a shadow there. Let's see if that's better. So the roof is one part, and you can see I've already got some spotlights on there for the light to shine down through. I may add some square openings in the middle here, but just because I want to light up a little better than there's 2 different lighting situations you've seen. You've seen where it was dimly lit when they went in to talk to Spock after he saw Cybok on the video. And then there's the part later on at the reception where it's more brightly lit. And I think if I'm going to do all this detail, I'm going to want it to be more brightly lit. So I think I'm going to put like maybe 2 small square openings in this roof, and add those in. That way it gets a little more light in here. So we got the roof. The walls are actually a separate piece, so that makes that a little bit easier to detail. And then you've got the floor, and then I've made this the little communications console that goes in the middle. I've made that a separate piece as well, for those that are interested in maybe doing it in a clear and lighting it. Now this is printed in clear, and I haven't really tried putting a light under it though, but this basically would just insert in this floor opening here, just like that. And that's how that would go in. And if you wanted to, you could try putting an LED under there to light it. So that is a separate piece if anybody's interested in trying to do that. It's very small detail, and it's going to be very hard to see through the small windows on the front of the saucer section. But it's there for an option if that's what you choose to do. So With these parts, first thing I need to do is, now these have already been cleaned in alcohol, isopropyl, because it's a 3D print. So these are nice and clean. And the first thing I'll do is I'll take some black, and I'm going to do some light blocking on this because I don't want light coming through the walls and the floor and the ceiling, except where I've chosen to allow light through. Which also mentioned, I do have this small square back here over the entryway, which is supposed to be there. I think you do see that entryway is lit up by a light over it, so I've got that there. But like I said, I think I'll add probably this same size opening, maybe 2 or 3 in the middle here. That way it gets more light in it. But I can add those. I can add those later. I can actually just drill small holes if I want to test it out and see how it's going to look. But I think for the final print, I'm going to put those holes in there to light it up. So I'm going to light block these first, and then we will come back and take a look at it. I don't want to keep stopping though every time I'm in between a paint stage. So what I'm going to do is light block these, and for the floor, the base part, basically, when you watch the movie, depending on which version you watch, what medium you watch it on, they're encoded different ways and they're processed different ways. In some, you see this, and the floor is a deep red wood, and so are the columns. And then some, it's more of a paler wood, and the columns, it's just dependent on the filtering and the processing they did for whatever format you're watching it on, as to what it looks like. But I like the darker color, so I'm going with the red. So basically what I did on the first one, what I'm going to do again is I'm going to use this dull red Tamiya paint, and I'm almost out of it, so I should have just enough to do this floor. And but that's what I'm going to do the floor in. For my walls, I went with medium sea gray. Just kind of a light to medium gray is what I wanted to use, and this kind of fits the bill in between. It's a medium sea gray. I'll use that for the walls, and then for the roof I'll go a little bit darker. I'll use this gunship gray for the ceiling and paint that way, and that's also going to ensure I get good light block, because this darker gray will help light block some more. But so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get these painted up with those different colors, and then we'll come back, and the only other step after that is I do have some brush painting that I'm going to talk about. So give me a couple minutes to get these worked up, and we'll come back and take a look at it. Alright guys, so I've got my 3 basic colors printed up, or painted up. I've got this light block, this is the roof, light blocked on the back, and then I also did, just like I did with the rec deck, I glued a piece of sheet styrene over this so that the light shines through, and it'll help reflect off of the foil tape on the back, and help reflect that light down in there. So hopefully the lighting turns out as well on this as it did with the rec deck, but we'll see. We'll give it a try. I got my walls painted, and I've got the floor and the pillars all painted. I don't know what's going on with my lighting here, but I've got the floor all painted up with the red. And basically what I do from here on out is I've got a couple of colors I use for this before. You've got some wood accents. You've got the naval wheel for one thing. I don't know why this lighting is so dark. Let me see if I can bring this light down a little bit. Maybe it'll help. But you've got that naval wheel that's got to be painted kind of a wood color. And then you've also got some wood paneling on either side of the door back here. So what I'll do is I'll use this brown iron oxide, and I'll paint those accents with a fine brush. You're going to want a fine tip brush with it, just like that one. And I'll paint it with the brown iron oxide, and then there's a couple of wall accents on those wall panels I'll come back and paint too. So we'll deal with that here in a minute. But I'll do that with a brush. I'll do these railings on the top, should be kind of a brown wood color. You never really see them, I don't think, in the film. Well, maybe you do catch kind of a little bit of a glimpse from a distance, but I just paint those a brown color. And that's pretty much all you got to paint on the ceiling, is these 2 rafters here. And as far as the floor, like I said, I'll paint the steering wheel, the ship's wheel, brown. I've got this antique gold that I'll use for what is this called? It's a compass, but there's another term for that. I can't recall off the top of my head, but I will use that to paint that little detail. And again, I'll do all this with the fine tip brush. And then the seats, I'll use this linen color, which is kind of an off-white. And it looks really more white against these darker colors than what it is, but I'll use that for that color. And then the last little touch I'll do is you've got that plaque that's right here on the ship's steering wheel in the movie. And I'll just take a little, either a toothpick or I'll take the tip of my pointer here, and I'll just take a little drop of this antique copper and put a little drop on the front of that steering wheel there where it's supposed to be. Now, you're not really going to be able to see it through the windows or that, but hey, I'll know it's there. So that's the way I'm going to paint this up. So I'm going to start working on that, and we'll come back here and take a look in a couple minutes. All right, guys, I've got that rec deck and the forward observation in place now. And you can see those windows on the forward observation there. And then on the back here, we've got the windows, and I've got the piece of plastic bottle that I cut out that I'm using for the glass for that. I'm out of focus a little bit here. Let's see. There we go. So you can see that glass in there. And you see that little bit of tan. That'll get masked off. I'll mask that row of windows off. I've still got to put in the Laser Fire Creations windows, small round windows in these two. So I got to do that yet, but I'll get those in place. And in the front here, you can see that glass in the front as well. Let me try to turn this off. I don't know if the camera will allow me to show this or not, but we'll give it a shot. See if I can get this hooked up. Now, the way I've got this wired is I ended up using 5 individual SMDs, warm white SMDs for the forward observation here, and I'm real happy with the way it turned out. I don't know how much you're going to be able to make out in the camera because the light exposure is not going to be real great on the camera. Plus, let me see if I can focus it. We'll give this a try and see if I can actually show you any of this. If you can see any of it, it's going to be hard to see. I guess you can make out a little bit maybe in the camera. You can see the wheel right there, at least the outline of it, and then the door in the back. So it's definitely more visible in person. The camera just doesn't pick up low light very well. But you can see that. So that's going to be nice once I get everything done on that. And then let's take one more look at the rec deck, if I can get the wires loose for it here. Get my impulse engine wires out of the way. And there we go. Got those 2 wires here. Let's get that hooked up to the battery. Well, let me get this held up to the light first, to the camera. Sorry, having to fiddle just a little bit to get this. And let's see. And again, not going to be able to see too much in there because the camera just doesn't pick up the low light very well, but it lights up real nice. I'm real happy with that. There's going to get some more residual light into this too that's going to brighten it up even more. Because I've got to put the internal lighting in here. And then you've got that back wall has openings. Oh, out of focus. The back wall on this 3D part has openings where you've got that view screen, and then you've got the 2 turbo lifts. Those are going to light up. And then you've also got openings on the side here where there's entrances on each side of it that's going to let light spill into there more. So that's going to light up even more once we get the internal lighting in. But real happy with the way that forward observation's turning out. Especially it's a new part, just trying out, and Cass over Lake Monster Details is going to be releasing that part here fairly soon, so keep your eyes out on that. Bug the hell out of them, let them know if you want that part to be able to add it to your A. But he's going to have that part, and he's going to be manufacturing it and selling it, because that's not my business, you know. I just don't want to get into that. I've already got this buckle thing that I'm working on, and that's taking a lot of time. And doing these videos and this build is taking a lot of time. But so the next step is to finally start working on our internal lights. Now I've already got one, because I had to put the forward observation in place. I've already got the light in place for this forward. I don't know if I've got it wired up for me to actually test out. I think I do. Let's see here. If I can get the wires to cooperate. But I've already got that one in the front here. Now I lost my power wire. Sorry guys, it's going to take a second. I just got to get these wires. I don't have these hooked up to anything yet really. So I kind of got to fiddle around with them for now. But you see I've got that light in the front, that forward white nav light in place. So that's ready to go. And now I'm ready to start working on, we've got quite a few things we got to work on this. So actually, I'm not going to do it this video because I think we're already a little over 30 minutes. And I want to try to get a video out each week. And it's been, I got that last video out last week. So it's time to get one out this week. But when we come back next episode, we're ready to start doing the internal lighting. We've got to get the lights in place for the thrusters. We've got to get those nav lights in place. And then we've got to finish up with the impulse crystal back here. I've got to finish up. I know this light's kind of blocking everything out. You can see this back piece I printed. Now this is going to be available once I get the cover for the box for the impulse crystal, and I get that in place and see how that looks. I'm going to put this piece and the cover for this in the notes below on the next episode, not this episode, but once we get that finished up and I've got that 3D piece in place to go and provide you a place to mount that the LED. These will help a little bit. These little light boxes kind of help block out the light. You don't have to build anything with styrene. You can just print these if you've got a printer and use these to do the light boxes for them. So we'll get those done next episode, and I'll post a link for those to be downloaded for free. So you'll be able to get those for free off the links below. But that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this episode. Like I said, when we come back next episode, we'll be ready to start working on the lights and try to get this to the point where we can just about seal this up and then start focusing more on getting the painting on the outside done, working on those Aztecs. But again, as always, I just want to thank everybody for watching these episodes. I appreciate the feedback and the comments on it. And again, as always, I also want to give a shout out to my sponsors, Cass over at Lake Monster Details, Gary over at Mass Design, and Gus over at GCals. And another note for that, Gus is working on a set of sensor band decals for this because I did say that that's the way I'm going to go with this is pretty much to recreate those trenches with some high build primer like Boyd did, and then use decals to recreate the sensor bands instead of worrying about trying to keep this etching, which I've already destroyed with putting all these extras in. So thank you again everybody for watching. Until next time, keep modeling.